Welcome. Blessings. I am here with Sandra Walter, and we are in beautiful Sedona, and we are inviting all of you into this very sacred space that we witnessed and held and created in a very sacred circle for the Crystalline Convergence. And we know that many of you joined us in spirit, and I know you're feeling it. I'm feeling it. Hi, Sandra.
Blessing, sister. Oh, my gosh. I think we're all so high. We're just still flying. Oh, my
I'm actually flying right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Floating. It's really powerful when we gather like this, and the vibration was extremely high. We're still carrying this, and we hope to share it with you in this quantum conversation.
It was really beautiful. We had literally 144 people. How perfect was that? And the vibration just kept rising throughout the day. It was really incredible. We harmonized and brought everyone together. Some people came in at mastery level, super high vibe level, and a couple of newbies. And it was really beautiful to see how the tribe just embraced everybody, no matter where you were. It was all about the unity and celebration of, some people hitting their embodiment, some people having contact, some people hitting a really strong DNA activations, and it didn't matter where you were along your path. Everyone was very supportive of where the whole tribe is right now, and celebrating the fact that we're all doing this together. It was beautiful.
Yes, we are all doing it together, and what we're going to talk about is the 3 phases of DNA activation and the crystalline DNA, because there's new information coming out on that. So it's so exquisite because Sandra, as a wayshower, has been bringing forth information about the DNA, and this was confirmed by science. So Sandra, please share with us your experience just recently with this being validated by science.
So a couple weeks ago, I spoke at Sedona Cosmic Awakening Conference, and I crossed paths with Dr. Glenn Ryan, who is one of the world leaders in DNA research. And we hit it off and had this beautiful conversation and ended up comparing notes on, he wants to go quantum with his research in DNA, which is my conversation going into like 12-strand crystalline DNA. And to speak to a scientist at this point in our journey, when so much information has come through about 12-strand crystalline DNA and how to activate it, and we compared notes, like literally sat down, we're geeking out and drawing different toroidal fields and how the dimensions interact and everything. And he was, first of all, interested, and second of all, really impressed with the kind of information that's been coming through about how this works, and kind of compare notes and go, okay, we know you can't see it under a microscope, but here's what we received, and it's a direct parallel to how they are interpreting how to activate DNA, and what Glenn, Dr. Ryan, has seen in his lab of how heart coherence and that kind of unity consciousness state can actually affect DNA. And he measures frequency, and he's really into water. He was actually the one who taught Dr. Emoto how to use the water machine. Amazing. So I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. It was like really incredible. Mm-hmm. We really hit it off. So so that's part of the conversation now. And that's probably one of the most exciting things is, oh my gosh, those moments you find where all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is that point on the timeline when we do this, or when that unification happens. And it happened just a couple of weeks ago. I was like, this is it. So that conversation is now open, because they've, the science doesn't even use the term junk DNA anymore, because they're noticing through our evolution that those codes that didn't used to do anything, they're now noticing are getting turned on, which of course is what we use to activate the 12-strand DNA structure. So it's unbelievable that we're getting into the scientific proof that's happening.
What I love the most about this DNA activation is it's happening whether we know it or not, but we can consciously steer it and work with it, and it's so simple. It is love, compassion, and all these mastery skills. So we've done an online healing retreat with you where you're doing the mastering the crystalline DNA. But I'd love you to explain what's going on here, because, I mean, my body right now is lit up, and that is actually crystalline DNA activating.
Yeah. So the interesting thing that's happening is there's actually a collective DNA activation happening, which I find really fascinating, because it's not just as you get more and more into unity consciousness and creating that field of heart coherence, which is all of Glenn's studies at HeartMath were all about heart coherence. Like literally, the DNA doesn't do anything unless you have coherence. It doesn't retain frequency, it doesn't activate unless you have heart coherence, which is exactly what we've been doing with our work. So there's a direct parallel there. But when we get into the 12-strand DNA, is actually a collective thing. So we're getting into the collective DNA and the codes that are within the living library of Gaia. And when we get together, like we did yesterday with the 144, there's a collective activation happening. We're actually creating resonance fields collectively, like through the Sunday Unity meditations, in order to activate as many people as possible all at the same time. So it's literally a side effect of unity consciousness going into this unified DNA activation. And the 3 phases that we've been working on, the first, healing. You got to do the healing. You got to have the clear vessel. You have to have the heart coherence. Otherwise, any DNA activation just isn't going to stick. You have to have the coherence. And then you get into phase 2, where you're consciously preparing the body and detoxification and commands and visualization and feeling and getting into visualizing the codes and the empty places, the junk DNA gaps that aren't firing, and you get right into that, and you just go right into it, and you visualize it, and you feel it, and you command it so, and your body and your DNA responds to that, because DNA is extremely sensitive, as Glenn proved in his lab, to thought, to feeling, to intention. He worked with a lot of healers, kind of measuring healing energies, and noticed, the frequency it's right there on the chart. It's visible, it's provable, which is beautiful because it directly parallels exactly what we're doing. And then you get into phase 3, where you go into the more crystalline unity consciousness, where you're actually connecting with the God spark. That's the exercise that we did during the event, of going into the heart center in an adept way, the adept method. Go within, and then your fields expand the more that you go within. So when everyone was going within and we were doing the toning step by step, our fields grew, and then we get coherence throughout the light tribe that was present. And then you're able to activate collectively our DNA, the crystalline aspect, which is everybody leveling up. It's not one person, one person, one person. It's a unified activity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love it. And what's interesting is that we tend to look at ourselves and see where we are on those phases. Would you say that we go in and out, but we can consciously anchor in and stay in a phase? This is where conscious intention really comes in.
Yeah, and that's the embodiment phase that so many are feeling right now. So for, early on in your path, you're raising your vibration, and then you have to integrate. And you get a heavy-duty activation, and then you have to integrate. So you're up and down, and even in the lab, they see the frequency goes up, they activate the water, and then it dissipates. What's happening now, because we're transmuting our carbon structures to a crystalline structure that can hold it, Crystalline structure, much higher vibration. So by quantum effect, it holds the higher vibration. And as we become more crystalline, everyone getting the sparkly skin and feeling more vibrant, and you can see it in not just your skin, but in your auric field, holding that higher vibration, it's like a balloon. You keep stretching it wider and wider, and eventually you can hold that bigger field, that higher vibration. And it's the same with DNA. The DNA will turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, and all of a sudden it's on, on, on. And as those strands come on, you start hitting the embodiment phase, and that's during the Easter week, prior to Easter week. We had all these frequencies coming in that we finally can hold in our collective field, in our personal field, and so many people were like, oh my gosh, this is it. We have our embodiment phase. All of a sudden we hit it, and it's incredible because it allows you to feel the presence of your higher self and your other aspects of self simultaneously right through the body, which is the divine human DNA coming on. And the whole reason why our DNA is so coveted is because the divine human structure allows you to feel 12 dimensions at once. It allows you to feel all that you are at once. It's literally a template for source in form, and a template that's used by stars and star systems. That's why they call it the solar cosmic Christ. It allows you to feel all that at within the heart center and within the body vehicle. And it's really quite incredible that we're all hitting it collectively, which I feel is wonderful, because for so long, for thousands of years, we've had prophets coming in, and that was the first phase. All these prophets coming in going, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's going to be an ascension cycle. There's going to be an opportunity for you to go into pure unity consciousness and really turn on the divine human genome. And now that it's happening, it's really incredible, because it's not just one or two of us, no guru hiding out in a cave. It's us collectively having this experience and really amplifying it for everyone else. And then by quantum effect, we become more crystalline, the DNA kicks on, and collectively we're all going up together. We're literally pulling up the tribe, and you could see it at the event. You could see people just being raised. They're like, I don't know what's going on, but I love it. And it was really beautiful for them to just step in and celebrate, It's gorgeous.
And one of the things that I think many people were feeling from this event is this deep desire to go and just be out in nature as much as possible. And as we know, if you've followed Sandra, she has dedicated her life to Mount Shasta. She has camped on the mountain by herself, and it's quite amazing. There's some amazing stories, and one of the most amazing stories is contact, and this notion of contact. And so you are really a bridge, a much-needed bridge between the ufology group and, let's say, the spiritual or the ascension path group. Because when we talk about contact, many people get really excited about it, and there's a sacredness about it, and that needs to be discussed. And I think that is the most exciting, because as there's a convergence between the spiritual crowd and the ufology crowd, Sandra is there with this higher level of awareness. And it's not anything to be fearful of, but it's quite exquisite. So Sandra, I would love for you to share on this and even get into Big Goldie.
Well, what I shared at the conference was some key stories that really showed how contact is actually a bridging activity to have us understand or grok unity consciousness. So all of the beings, well, not all of the beings, but most of the beings that I've had contact with, everything from, Syrians to Sasquatch, they're always teaching unity consciousness. And whether it's attuning yourself through the heart so that telepathic communication is clear and direct and free of all your emotional and mental craziness, if you can shed that so that you can clearly communicate, things start to happen, and clearer information comes through, and there's trust, and there's just a really beautiful relationship that can bloom there. And I found that I feel that we're done with that kind of transitional phase of the New Age and UFOlogy, whatever you want to call it. The kind of the disclosure thing is now bridging, and I find like the disclosure folks too, focusing much more on consciousness than they are on, stories about Mars or whatever. I still honor and respect that because it is still part of the conversation, but they're opening the door for that bridging activity of talking about unity consciousness extensively, which is really beautiful to see because that's everything, every being, every higher dimensional being that I've met or come in contact with, they're always, that's the goal. They're not concerned about our little human issues at all. And that's just the contact that I've had. I know other people have had other experiences, but I feel like that's kind of fading as we go into this higher level of embodiment. So I got invited to speak at one of these conferences in August, and I feel like the conversation for crystalline DNA, for embodiment, for ascension itself, and for this kind of bridging activity of unity consciousness through contact is kind of like the next phase of our transformation, of unifying our worlds and being able to work together and not waiting for a hero or a landing or an event or a solar flash or anything like that. It's really a very empowering moment for humanity when we all get into our hearts and learn how to work together rather than playing the waiting game or being really fascinated with the past. I'm much more fascinated with the future and the now, kind of pulling New Earth into the now and going, look, we know what the end goal is. We know what we all want in our hearts. Why not pull it into the now and take action? So I feel that's what our focus is with this whole contact activity.
Thank you. And so could you please talk about that experience, being out in nature and seeing a giant golden orb or the light ship that you see? And that is, I think you revealed that it's really a higher aspect of you, or it's connected to you. And you've shared, I don't know if we have to go into it, but there was a time where, you look back at your whole life and you could see the parallel realities.
Yeah, I shared, there was a past life regression that I experienced where I had this vision of being an alien on a mountain with all these people going up into this other realm, and then I get to Mount Shasta, 20-some plus years later, and get to a spot on Mount Shasta, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the vision I had when I was 19. And I had this experience of my past self as an ET on that mountain, as my present self as an ascension guide on that mountain, and my future self ascended already and still assisting people into that higher realm, all merging into the now. And it was just such a brilliant moment because I finally understood that a lot of the contact that we have is other versions of ourselves. Not all, but many times we're actually having contact with other versions of ourselves in different dimensional parallel realities, which is really beautiful because all the guidance has always been like we're back from the future. Literally we create these journeys for highest possible outcome of ascension, create the ascension timeline, and then you go back and you live it. You go back and start incarnating, thousands of years ago, and then you come to the point on the timeline where all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, wait, I have a mission, and you start following service and getting into your heart, and all of a sudden you run into yourself, like sometimes literally, like run into yourself on that point on the timeline where you're like, this is the timeline that we created for best case scenario. And we got there, we got to best case scenario. So it's beautiful because the realization, or for me, the experience of actually living the intel that came in 20 years ago about how all this operates, and then to actually have that experience on Shasta was quite beautiful. And even with seeing the big gold light ships and knowing, okay, that's your ship, you're on the ship kind of thing. And I never really identified with the ships, even though I had so many very lucid experiences of being on the ships and, flying into the mountain and flying over the mountain and all of that, I was like, well, I feel like we have to apply multidimensional consciousness and awareness to everything now and realize it's not separate from you. It's you can see other versions of yourself, and whether it's lightship level or ET level or whatever it is, that it's helping us understand unity consciousness. We are all that. We are Gaia. We are the sun. We are God. All of that is really the metaphor of that is kind of playing out for you in these realities in this beautiful way.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And one of the beautiful things that was discussed is, again, there's no fear in this process. And some things that come up around the solar flash, you have a beautiful explanation for that. And we are turning into stars. Can you share a little bit more on that?
Well, the interesting part about the solar flash was that the gatekeepers kept seeing it. For years we've been seeing this. The sun exploded, and we'll see it at the same time. It started like early 2015, 2016. All of a sudden you started seeing it in visions, just the sun, having the full coronal mass ejection that everyone's talking about. And we're like, oh my gosh, is that going to happen now? Is it happening now? And we know that the intel that's been coming in since 2009, 2010 had always said, okay, your galactic levels are actually stepping down the frequencies so that no one is robbed of their mastery experience or the ascension experience. So we're just going to hold back, because the whole thing is going to happen in 2012. So we're just going to hold back and give you what you can integrate so that we don't mess up the timelines. And we understood that. Some people were frustrated by that, but it's like, hey, this is a collective. It's not just one or two of us. And it was interesting because the gatekeepers keep seeing the sun and the flickering and the flashing. It's almost like fizzy, effervescent flashing. And it's consistent. So we know that it's happening, and we can feel it. And I'm pretty sure that's why the intel for the last 7 years since I've been on Shasta, that's consistently predicting solar activity, is because our galactic levels are like, okay, we're going to let this one through kind of thing. And all of a sudden the sun will give off solar flares. And they're telling us in December what's happening for the whole year. So there's like a schedule. And that's been backing off lately. I'm like, okay, so what's coming up? And the energies of 2020 are supposed to be off the charts, like right away, January, boom. And I feel that the acceleration, I mentioned this in the event too, on Saturday, I was like, check in with who you were in January and who you are now. Do you see the acceleration of your journey? And everybody was like, oh yeah. Everybody, even Loren was like, oh yeah, totally different. So you see that acceleration getting faster, faster, more and more amplified. So this is it. This is that really supercharged kind of catch-up time to that higher timeline that we've all been calling in. So the solar flash is the unification that's happening with the gatekeepers and the grid workers. Supposedly we are in charge of, we're like the grounded monitoring system for the collective, for what the galactic levels, which is us. It's not, some other beings in charge. It's us. It's the higher versions of us, for what we can handle and what we can give. But because we are so aligned with unity consciousness, because we have so many beings that are fully embracing embodiment, what I call the high vibe tribe, because we're really going for it right now, we're able to take on more frequency, and we're able to take on more activity. So I feel like there's going to be a revelation that this solar activity has been happening actually for quite a while. So I still anticipate a big kabang. Yeah. Because we see it, and we wouldn't see it if it weren't on the timeline somewhere. So
that kabang, let's go a little deeper in that. That kabang would be, some would say, a dimensional shift.
Yeah, it's a trigger. It's a complete trigger. So that's the thing.
Nothing to be fearful of. I'm going to envision that the power stays on. We don't know, right? It's nothing
who
to be fearful
cares?
of,
Honestly,
right?
if it opens everyone's hearts, it's kind of like my guides had this great example, piece of intel, like back in 2010. They're like, you're gonna be like, is it the Who's at the end of the Grinch? He's like steals all the toys, and they come out of their houses and they're like singing and holding hands. He's like, but I took all their stuff, and they're like, whatever, we have each other. We're gonna have to be like that, because it like doesn't matter what happens in the physical reality, because it's an illusion anyway. But if the higher thing is, it's going to blast open your heart, you're going to be, this unified consciousness suddenly. And again, it's that DNA resonation. So it's a collective DNA activation. So if anybody has an open, willing heart, you're going to get the activation, right? So it's not, it's not this big judgment day, oh my God, the grid's going to go down or whatever. It's like, and yet we go on. I mean, there's nothing that the human genome can't endure at this point, honestly.
Well, again, one of the most beautiful experiences with Sandra, they're all beautiful, is this high vibe vision of New Earth. So let's take a moment right now with all of you too and really feel into this. We'll just take a few minutes here and be in that New Earth vision.
Take a breath and drop the elevator from the mind into the heart. Breathe right through the heart center and let that heart torus just spin open with diamond, crystalline, that beautiful plasma light, opening up as the divine solar center that it is. You can even put your hands on your heart center and just feel the presence of Source right within you. Releasing, purifying and divinitizing. And I want you to feel your version, your creation of New Earth in this now. And that's that pure DNA activation. Visualize and feel it. The crystalline kingdoms, the pure water, the clear skies, right here, right now. All of us in peace and harmony and love, and in that full state of mastery that allows us to reveal to other people the divinity within their own hearts. Feel the presence of Source in every fractal of that vision, and in every fractal of your own consciousness. Infuse it with all the love and feeling of divinity, and pull it right into this now moment. Just accelerate that timeline. Pull it right into this now. Smile. Allow it. Creating that healing and coherence so that your DNA, which is responsible for pulling spirit into form, can create that for you and create that for others in this now. Take a breath and radiate this out through the crystalline core of Gaia, out through the gateways, out through the grids, out to all human hearts, kingdoms, elementals. Radiate out through the galaxy, universe, like a clarion call. So it is. Beautiful. Thank you.
That is so beautiful. I can feel everyone in this collective. We are shining so bright. we are seen across the universe.
I am witness.
I am witness. Again, I want to share with you the beautiful online courses that Sandra has. She has actually, we've done a couple here, we'll make those links available, but the Mastering Crystalline DNA is exquisite. Do it.
Like $30 or something?
Yes. I mean, it's, and the beautiful thing about it is it's so simple. It's being aligned and in the center, and that is almost effortless. So thank you. And also, the contact, again, that is the sacredness of the contact. And Sandra shows how we ourselves prepare to interface, prepare to, in meditation, prepare to receive these beings, maybe our higher self aspects that want to communicate with us. And so that's all very interesting. So we invite you to check those out. Do you want to say anything more about those?
The crystalline DNA, every time I get together with you, Loren, and we do like an online mastery retreat, it's always so magical. It was just, I know it's a lot of information. They're like 3 hours long, but it's thorough, and there's activations, and you're going to feel it. That's the key. Plus, you can watch it over and over again if you need to just kind of integrate the material. Yeah. The crystalline DNA was like really, really detailed, and then the first contact one was like crazy magical. That was really cool. What happened during that retreat? I would like to watch the replay myself, just to see what was going on there, because we just felt a presence of ourselves and our teams, our divine entourage, like really stepping in. So that was beautiful. Yes. Yeah, those are beautiful. I'm so glad those are available. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for co-creating those.
And it's interesting because there were experiences that people had after that.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah, right away. It was like you told us to prepare. It's almost like doing a fire drill for when an experience happens, and that's exactly what happened for some people. So those are beautiful. And so I want to thank everyone here for being in this New Earth celebration. Hold your vision of New Earth and be it. Come back and listen to that process with Sandra every day. Connect in to the New Earth grid. And I get emotional here because it's truth in my heart that I know. And it's just so beautiful because it's here, right? It's here.
Right now. Yay! We love you so much. There's so much love available. Just open up, sisters and brothers. We're here.
Yay! And so everyone, join me in this moment and wish Sandra a very happy 20th anniversary of her first experience in stepping up to the task and being this Ascension Wayshower. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I also want to share with you that Sandra has the Wayshowership course, and this is true to my heart as well because it's all about New Earth, babies. Mm-hmm. And we are the ones that bring it. So follow Sandra. She's got a beautiful course to really assist you in being that wayshower and really stepping up as you know that you're ready to do. Thank you, everyone. And we close this circle right now, sending you our deepest gratitude and our love. And thank you for shining your bright light and for sharing your love. Thank you, Sandra. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Blessings, beloveds. During this sacred passage, we are celebrating the return of frequencies which support our divine embodiment. Embodiment is done through the DNA, right through the body vehicle, merging the higher self, the multidimensional self, with the lower self, and giving us a palpable expression of embodiment of our highest beingness. We do this through our DNA, so let us celebrate this beautiful passage with a DNA activation. Let us begin with our pure intention. Take a breath, hands on the heart center, and let us unify with our brothers and sisters. Breathing fully into the heart center, opening to the crystalline Christ consciousness that you already are. Opening to Source, the infinite creator that you already are. Take a moment and open the Ascension column, opening the toroidal fields across all time, space, dimensions, parallel realities seen and unseen. Align, open, expand. Call forth your personal guidance realms, your higher self, Christ itself, Almighty I Am Presence, infinite creator beingness, Divine Cosmic Mother, Heavenly Father, Paradise Sons of God, all of our divine teams, masters, Christed galactics, angelics, archangelics in service to the pure and true organic ascension. Unifying all as one in this now moment with Gaia, Solaris, brothers and sisters, kingdoms and elementals, all as one. In this now moment, let us open with our pure intention to activate our crystalline DNA, calling in the highest divine love, divine light, divine will, serving the highest intent of all willing hearts in service to the pure and true ascension. So be it. Beautiful. Take a breath. DNA itself creates personal, collective, and multidimensional experiences in form. That is your gateway, your interface with light into form. It is a photonic light receiver and generator. DNA does both. It receives frequencies as well as generating light within the body, in the cells. Divine human DNA contains markers for ascension, a pure experience of source consciousness in form. When our activated heart centers, resonating with divine love, divine unity consciousness, lock into the vibration of Christ consciousness, it allows the toroidal fields of the DNA to begin to spin and radiate diamond plasma, solar crystalline light. It is a frequency, and this creates the crystalline DNA activation. Our cells and our energy fields and our realities attempt to match that vibration and create it as a reality. Christ consciousness shining through the crystalline DNA is the bridge between worlds. The old reality of the dense two-strand inactivated DNA moves into 12-strand DNA with activation, which allows access to other worlds, other realities. It allows you to create that. It allows us to collectively heal and co-create new realities, such as the new earth. Like a primary Christed ascension timeline which bridges realities, we utilize crystalline DNA as a gateway to a new experience because it bridges dimensions and densities. DNA receives cosmic light through micro wormholes in the DNA itself. DNA itself, when it's working in harmony, creates these little torus bundles. It tries to bundle in sacred geometric frequencies and forms to create more light and more harmony and more of that higher reality within the cells. DNA is constantly trying to bundle in sacred geometric form with the influx of divine cosmic rays coming onto the planet right now. When we're stressed out or fearful, the strands contract and it cannot flow in that sacred geometric form. But when you're working with your heart torus and your energy fields and you're consistently commanding the toroidal fields to open in order to reflect and reprogram the DNA to do the same thing, we're opening up to harmony. It allows the DNA to rebundle and spin in divine perfection. DNA is creating energy fields within the nucleolus, within your cells. Every single cell in your body is trying to do this. It is being asked to do this by the cosmic frequencies coming onto and emanating from Gaia's crystalline core. When the toroidal fields are spinning properly, they emanate light. The cells emanate light. DNA is a receiver and a transmitter of cosmic frequencies. When spinning properly, it can actually receive the photonic light that's coming in from these areas of space, from the cosmic stargates, from the sun, from Gaia herself, and it allows the activation of the 12-strand DNA. The markers, what they used to call junk DNA, in your strands itself, those are the areas that we're going to work with in order to activate the 12-strand etheric structure of DNA. There are toroidal fields around these areas, around the markers, what they used to call junk, and this is a multidimensional operation. So the markers are what they see under a microscope, what they didn't know they were for, and now we are now tapping into those markers for Christ consciousness and activating through our intention, through our actions, through our thoughts, words, deeds, emotions. Everything is coming into play with Christ consciousness. As the markers light up, it allows the DNA to do something new. It allows us to start rebundling in a 12-strand format, and that is our birthright. It's your DNA. It is your divine destiny to reclaim that. It is your divine opportunity to reclaim that during the ascension. When we activate these crystalline strands of DNA, we become the embodiment. We begin the embodiment process of ascension. We feel many aspects of self simultaneously. It's a lot of information. The more strands that you have rebundling and activating, the more realities you have access to. The more realities you have access to create. Through aligning with 0 point in our sacred practices and meditations, we may experience the presence of Source as self. No more separation. We're being bombarded with 12-strand DNA activation light, this pure photonic light coming in that tells the DNA to do something new. By participating with this, you amplify the human heart grid, which allows your brothers and sisters to experience that at a faster rate. And it allows the return of the divine Christ consciousness to amplify and accelerate on the planet. So this is an act of divine service. Crystalline DNA itself is a high-frequency light signature before it manifests into form. DNA can travel on these streams of photonic light, this light intelligence, through vast areas of space via alignments of the solar bodies. From the great central sun all the way out to pure source consciousness, we align with our heart center, with the cells, with the DNA, in order to embody those frequencies and then have access to our multidimensional self. Phase 1 of the DNA activation process is about healing. Nothing can get activated until we heal what's going on internally. We cannot change the external until we change the internal. You've probably heard this in your mastery classes, but DNA can be spontaneously healed through heart coherence. The consistent practice of unconditional love and joy and gratitude and forgiveness changes the heart to broadcast frequencies which heal distorted or damaged DNA. Distortions within the DNA can be healed, and the way that the codes fit together can be healed through the heart, which is why we do so much work on the heart in our ascension. It is proven that intention must be present and practiced, or otherwise DNA healing does not work. So, we emancipate the heart and the body through intention and our practices. Through our thoughts, through love, through divine service work, all of the ascension process is aimed at healing our heart center and creating heart coherence so that we may create a new reality for ourselves and for the planet. We are opening up the heart to amplify that divine toroidal field around the heart center, the diamond, solar, crystalline heart center. We activate our heart torus, and using this coherence, we program the toroidal fields of the DNA, the gaps in the DNA that activate, that create that 12-strand structure. This healing is done through purification and detoxification on all levels, your thoughts, your ego, your emotional levels, mental levels, the body itself. When we shed that which crumples the DNA, slows it down, creating distortion, we heal that, and then it opens your DNA to become an antenna for those higher frequencies coming right through the heart as a new solar generator, a solar template for the solar cosmic Christ to activate the DNA. In order to become what they call a son of God, a more solar beingness, or a representation of the solar model, the crystalline model of Christ consciousness, we open up to that diamond, golden, crystalline ball of light, the torus field around our heart centers. And then we're going to move it around and create our own Christed star. In this moment, set your intention. Take a breath. And let us move forward. Let us create this diamond octahedron, or a Christed star around us, in order to amplify our own heart centers and create that structure in form, embodiment. Sit up straight, take a breath, and drop all of your focus into your heart. Visualize the most diamond, pure, crystalline, pearlescent golden light surrounding your heart, coming out from the heart center, spinning that toroidal field, and allowing that amplification, speed up, speed up, speed up. Allow it to amplify the light, feeling the warmth and the purity, holding your hands on either side of the heart center, palms facing each other, amplify the light. Heart center, light up, so be it. Take a breath. And let that pinpoint of light within the heart center, the sacred heart center, expand out. Expand to the width of your ascension column, just a few feet out from the body, and let it light up. Let that be all that you are in this now moment. That pure solar source spark. Invocation. In the name of the divine human creator that I am, I call forth the purification and divinitization of my heart center in this now. Heart center, light up, expand. Take a breath, letting all the rest of the beingness drop away. Just focus on the heart. Let the sun rise. Now Now visualize and command. Use your hands if you need to. Let that sphere of light come up through the ascension column, rising up from the heart. Let the sun rise, going all the way up through the crown, up through the ascension column, all the way up through the crystalline grid to the sun level. Shooting straight up, opening up, and let that ball of light receive the Christed light, maintaining the heart center and maintaining this ball of light. It may appear as a crown or a pinpoint of light or an antenna. Let it collect Christed light. Let it receive Christed light. Beautiful. Now maintaining that point of light and the heart center, drop the focus, pull that ball of light back down, maintaining the pinpoint up by the sun and in the heart center, pulling the focus, pulling all of that Christed light into the heart center. Beautiful. Let it reflect how the sun looks right now, that crystalline, pure light. Letting it flow into the heart center. Becoming that receiver, that antenna of Christed light. Let it continue to pull that light in, maintaining the pinpoint up at the sun and in through the heart center. Beautiful. Now, bringing that ball of light going down into the crystalline core of Gaia, that fifth, sixth-dimensional crystalline core of Gaia. Tap into Gaia herself, who is becoming a more solar beingness. Drop all the stories about Gaia's crystalline core, what it is and what it isn't, and witness, feel her transformation. Delivering the Christed codes that you just took from the sun straight into her core. And receiving, she has new light for you. Receive it. Let that ball of light connect with her heart. And now bringing that back up to the heart. And maintaining those points of light up at the sun, down at the crystalline core. Letting those points of light remain out there connected. Taking that sphere of light back into the heart center. And now we're going to project it forward, straight forward. We're going to bring in all four directions, so as far as it's comfortable for you to move that ball of light straight forward out from the heart center and let it establish a point of light right there. Keeping that point of light, bringing the sphere back to the heart, collecting that energy, now moving it out to the right, straight out to the right side, connecting, receiving, broadcasting, expanding your light. Maintaining that pinpoint of light out to the right, establishing another pinpoint of your Christed star. We are building an octahedron. Now pull it back to the center, and now straight through the back, going out through the back, purifying, divinitizing, whatever feels comfortable for you. If it's 12 feet, so be it. If it's 30 feet, 50 feet, don't go infinity level yet. Establishing points of a star. Establish that point of light, letting that point of light be established, and then bring the sphere back to the heart. Now expanding to the left. Let that point of light go, go, go. Establishing your Christed star. Another pinpoint of light. Now bringing the sphere back to the heart. Breathe. And now feel all 7 of these points of light. Above, below, front, back, side to side, and in the core. And now call in more cosmic light. Puritized, divinitized, crystalline diamond light, lighting up all these points of light. And now birthing that star within and without. Command and decree, I am solar cosmic Christed beingness. Solar cosmic Christed beingness, I am. And with your pure intention, give the command to unify. In the name of the divine human, creator incarnate that I am, I unify all fractals of self across all timelines and parallel realities seen and unseen, to be reunified in this now moment, purified, divinitized, and Christed within my heart center in this now, to fully amplify and accelerate my journey of ascension and reunify all of my expressions of pure source consciousness. Take a breath. So it is. You might feel other aspects, multidimensional aspects coming in from the pinpoints of the star that we have just created. The octahedron is a building block of consciousness and an excellent way to reunify all aspects of self, calling in all soul fragments from first separation until now. Unify, puritize, divinitize. All of your power is in this now moment. Do this now. Calling in from all directions, below, side to side, front to back, above, condensing, purifying, divinitizing. Let the diamond light of the Christ purify all aspects of self from first separation until now. Hold your hands on either side of your heart center, breathe, and feel all of yourself returning. Collapsing all old timelines, purifying and divinitizing with love, non-judgment, gratitude and grace, forgiveness of all that has been created, gratitude for all that has been created, collapsing fully into the 0 point of the heart center in this now moment. I am all that I am. So it is. Put your hands on your heart and breathe. Healing and surrendering the old stories, let them dissolve so that the new may come forth. Feel the central sun of your own heart. Powerful, brilliant, radiant. Let the star expand. Let your own solar flashing activity begin. Feel the pulsing, radiating light within the heart center begin to expand that Christed star. As large as you like, as long as it continues to pull in more cosmic light, maintaining the heart center, maintaining that structure. Stay in the heart, don't leave the body, stay in the heart center. Beautiful. The cells have the ability to hold and generate light. Cells are immortal. The body can generate its own light, bringing in more codes and more light into the body to take it to the next level and express as higher spirit in form. Photonic light permeates the cells, and we hold it in our DNA. The DNA is completely capable of holding photonic light within it. When we take that into our DNA, we then resonate with that cosmic light and become part of that living light, which is unity consciousness. We attract positive photonic light by resonating with it, the vibration of harmony, peace, and divine ascension. And we rewrite, recode, reactivate our own divine beingness through these activities. We become that sun, we pull in more light, and we command our DNA to activate in this now moment. Crystalline DNA, activate the Christed codes. See the giant coil of DNA, a master strand of DNA, coiling in the middle of that beautiful Christed star you have just created. And in your higher vision or in your higher feeling, command those gaps, those codes waiting to be activated, to light up. Light up. Recode your DNA in this now moment. Use your hands, use your vision, use your sound, use your light language. Recode and activate in this now. 12-strand DNA activate, crystalline DNA activate. Light up. Use that Christed star. Use that crystalline light flowing through the ascension column. Your Christed star exists in your ascension column, in your heart center. They are all one. And now you are adding the 12-strand DNA to that structure. Take command of that structure. It's yours. Light up, spin in absolute divine perfection. DNA recoil and recode in absolute divine alignment with the Christed state of beingness. Purify and divinitize. Etherically rebundle, reconnect. More love, more light. I am all that I am. So it is. Breathe. Bring your hands back to your heart center. Bring all of that love, that self-love, which is source love, into the heart center. Beautiful. So it is. This is the first phase of DNA activation. Our crystalline DNA activation is our birthright. It is your birthright to reclaim your DNA, to reclaim your Christed state of beingness. We are fully supported in this now for the embodiment phase of ascension. I send all of you my love and my light. Let us show humanity what is possible with ascension.